Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the June 21st meeting of the Board of Sewer Commissioners. Call the meeting to order. And a roll call.
Donna Baroff, present. Sandy Slavin, present.
And Jim Gibberti, present. Approval of meeting minutes from the meeting of the 17th of May. This was the meeting that we had Water Warriors
Oh, okay.
were here to make
Oh.
the presentation.
Oh, okay. I make a motion that we accept the minutes of the meeting of May 17th as provided.
Right.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, that's 3-0.
Aye. Aye.
We can do that. We couldn't do it the last time because we didn't have the appropriate people. Citizens' participation, I see no one, so we will zip along to sewer business. We have agreements for approval, the first one being from Synagro Northeast LLC for long-term disposal of liquid sludge.
Mr. Chairman, I had one question on it. What are we paying now and, well, two questions. And did we get other bids?
We didn't...
To me,
go
through
ahead.
Mr. Chairman, absolutely, actually, we put it out to bid throughout the country, this is the only bid we received. Nobody else chose to bid on it. The issue with liquid sludge is only two facilities covering Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. One is Synagro, and the other is Cranston, Rhode Island. Cranston chose not to bid. We talked to many haulers who had the contract 2 years ago, and because there's such a hard time getting it into the facilities, they could not guarantee delivery. If they picked it up at the facility, there was no guarantee that they could deliver it. We cannot afford no guarantee because sludge production is a daily basis. We waste about 30 to 40,000 gallons of sludge per day. So we put it out to actual owners of facilities, and Synagro is the only one that bid. Last year, they were part of a big package, which included other haulers, and they got the bid then also. So to answer your question direct, no, they were the only bidder, but we did advertise through the state nationwide. They're the only bidders. The cost went up by $20 per ton of disposal and $50 per haul.
Okay, so every time we go, it's $450 for the load plus $381 per ton.
Yes.
So what is the
tipping.
average cost per delivery?
$32,000?
$32,000.
Yes.
$450 plus $380 per ton.
That's right, it's per day. We send 2 loads per day. So we send 2 to 3 trailers per day, which is 9,000 gallons. They do a dry ton formula, and they get the actual dry tonnage, and that's what we're billed on. So our average bill per month is approximately $32,000
A month?
a month.
$32K per month.
Correct. So
And
we're
that's 2 to 3 deliveries per day.
per day.
So that's 60 deliveries? 90 deliveries, 60 to 90 deliveries?
Yes, they come, they grab it, they go. They come, they grab it, they go. Now, during the winter months, we may have a month where we send 1 trailer, but we're giving you the averages. Because in the winter, we're producing less sludge, our flow drops down considerable, we're producing less sludge. However, it's still averaging that, because sometimes during the summer, we put 4 trucks out, and so, yeah, that's our average. And that's why we're looking...
And other alternatives, I thought I had seen something that you can develop dry it out so you don't have to deliver it anyplace.
There's a screw press that we're looking at, and we've got the, I think I sent over
Okay,
email.
So you are looking at an alternative.
Absolutely, and we're looking at the Warriors. I think at the last meeting and the meeting before, I think,
Yeah.
We've got 3 alternatives we've been looking at. The screw press for one, the centrifuge for another, the Water Warriors for another.
and there are others. And there's other communities too, like Brockton, I believe it's Brockton, Whitman, and one other community are looking at their own incinerator, or if you will, digester. So there's some communities trying to answer the problem, but nothing's going to happen in the very near future. So we're stuck with this until we do something else.
This guarantees us a place to bring our sludge 2 or 3 times a day.
Yes, ma'am. And which to me is critical. Any other way, we had no guarantee. And if I can't get rid of it, then it backs up in the facility, which plays with my TSS, which plays with my permit.
Do you need a vote on this?
Yeah, please.
I'll make a motion that we accept the Synagro contract as written.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
300. Onward and upward. Okay. GHD for the sewer capacity analysis for the Woodland Grove 40B project.
That was we originally suggested or submitted to the project a $32,000 bill or $32,000 cost to do a complete analysis. So we've been going back and forth in the interim. So the last agreement between the town and the contractor has been $9,000. The check is in the bank. The town has the check.
So Dakota has paid the town.
That's right. Dakota has paid the town. The $9,000 is in the hand of the town planner. And so when the contract is completed, they will be paid by that check.
Okay. I move that we accept the GHD contract as provided by the superintendent.
For the sewer capacity analysis.
Pardon?
For the sewer capacity analysis.
Yes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
300. Okay. Now we've got some contracts for product. First one is from Univar USA Inc. for methanol.
Yep.
What do you use the methanol for?
Mr. Chairman, the methanol is used as a BOD source for food. At the back end of the plant, once we remove all the BOD, the bacteria that's within the denitrifiers have nothing to eat. So it's methanol that we choose.
Yeah, it's food, yeah.
Gotcha.
How much, if you're saying it's $4.25 25 cents per gallon with a minimum of 1,000 gallons, how much did we use this last year?
Every 20 days, we get 1,000 gallons, and that's from April 1st to October 31st.
So we should have no problem making the minimum of this contract.
Not at all. Not at all. We use 1,000 gallons every 20 days.
Okay. Have a motion to
So this is a good price, $4.25 a gallon?
Yes,
What did we pay last year per gallon?
$4.20. $4.20.
It has not gone up.
Yeah,
They have
5
not
cents.
gone up.
Oh, okay.
I make a motion, we approve the contract for Univar USA Inc. for methanol.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
0. Okay. Now we have one from Harcross Chemicals, potassium permanganate, hydrated lime, and liquid sodium hypochlorite. And we have,
Are they the same prices as last year, or have they gone up?
No, these are the same price. This contract and the methanol was exercised in 3-year contract. We exercised the option of us going forward
Yeah.
simply because the price stayed the same. You'll see that polyethylene chloride, they would not guarantee the price, and soda ash, they would not guarantee the price, so we went out to bid on those 2 products, and they have gone up.
I make a motion that we approve the Harcross Chemical proposal as submitted.
Second.
okay.
Finish, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. For the potassium permanganate and hydrated lime and liquid sodium hypochlorite.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? 3
Aye.
0. Okay. Next one is from Holland Company, the polyaluminum chloride. Was this
This was a bid.
this was a bid, this wasn't a rollover?
That's right. No, this was a bid. We were at the bid, actually, this company was at the bid opening. And they were the only bidder for polyaluminum chloride. They are the manufacturer, and not many people can compete, because people that make it on the West Coast, or they make it down in Florida, or Central America, or even central part of America, the trucking cost is just prohibitive, but they can't compete. This manufacturer's in the western part of the state, so they've been winning the bid quite a
What did
lot.
we pay last year for this chemical?
We increased it by, it went up 40 cents per gallon.
Wonderful.
And the aluminum is pretty substantial. Aluminum, the tariff on aluminum went crazy.
How much of this average do you use?
We use probably about 4,000 gallons a month, and we use it for the precipitation of our permit for phosphorus.
Okay.
This is phosphorus, we can't break it down, so we precipitate it out in the clarifiers, and this is the product that does that.
Okay. I make a motion that we accept the Holland Company Incorporated bid for polyaluminum chloride.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
0-0. Now we have one for Monson Companies, LLC, for soda ash. This was a bid item also, correct?
That is correct.
Is the same questions. What was
So
the cost
soda ash,
last year?
actually, soda ash went up 7 cents per ton. This is a new company. Board and Remington had it last year, and they went up, they went up 17 cents per ton. And so they didn't win the bid at 412. These folks won the bid at 409. But that 409 is up $7, 7 cents per ton from last year.
And this
I'm
company's
sorry,
out of-
$7 per ton.
This company's out of Maine?
Yes, they are,
Oh, $7.
per ton, yes. So out of Maine.
$7 or 7 cents?
$7.
$7 per ton, I misspoke. So I got a dollar sign, $7 per ton.
Yeah.
And, yes, and Board and Remington went up $12 from last year per ton. So this company, the Monsoon Company, won the bid.
I make a motion that we accept the Monsoon Company LLC for soda ash bid as provided by the superintendent.
Aye, second?
All in favor? 3-0.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And you can, I think you've all got a copy of the summation that Guy
Yes,
presented with
it's in there. It talks about what the costs were. And you'll see that the potassium, the hydrate, they exercised the right of 2016 prices, so we move forward
Right.
because there was no increase.
Okay, da-boom, da-boom, da-boom. You're on stage.
Right, Mr. Chairman, I don't have a whole lot. I have a lot, but not a whole lot, and I'll try to go through this pretty quickly. First thing I want to talk about is something interesting happened to us at the plant the other day. We had a gentleman walk in. He'd bought a home in part of town in 2012. He never received a sewer bill, and he knows neighbors were. So he came in and he says, guys, I have not been getting a sewer bill. We looked him up, and he's not in the records anywhere. We went to the charts. He's never been better. He went to the charts, and we found that was a lot in 1995 when that area was sewered. They built this house in 1997. They tied into a manhole, no permits, no nothing, told no one about it. So the builder of that home in 1997 had free sewer and no betterment. This individual who bought it in 2012 felt really bad, and he came in and he says, I want to pay you all 6 years because I have sewer, I know I need to pay for it, and because I'm not, I think that's wrong. I can't sleep at night, it's bothering my conscience. So I was really, the reason why I'm telling you that is, it renews your faith in humanity, because the gentleman knew that he was getting something for free. Truth be told, if he didn't come in, he could have got free sewer for the rest of his life. So I commend him and people like him that believe in honesty and truth. So I want to praise him. So he gave us a check for 6 years of sewer. I was fascinated. So there's others out there, I'm sure. And it's ironic because when I went out there to look at it, I've got pictures of the manhole, and you can see the cut where they cut through the asphalt into the back of the home. So the builder at that time, and we did some research and we've got some ideas, but the builder at that time built the home, tied to sewer, Nobody was the wiser, and they lived happily ever after.
Do we have any recourse on the builder who incorrectly, improperly tied into the sewer line?
I'm not so sure. I'll have to find out if the builder is still in business. I got the builder's name through the records, but I have to see if the builder's still in business, and I don't know.
And what
I
about
don't
the
know.
betterment?
Again, I don't know. I did, that the owner of the property existing, and truth be told, he's responsible. However, because he came forward and cut me a check for his sewer use, and he did it out of his good conscience, I think that the betterment, we were beat on the betterment. I can't say, how it happened, but we were beat, obviously, and we were beat out of, 14 years of sewer. And this gentleman's been there for 6, and he came forward, and he's paid us for his 6. I commend him, and I don't want to penalize him. But again, that's just my call, my take
How
on
many
it.
more do you think are out there that improperly or incorrectly tied in with no one knowing about it?
I think we have quite a few. It's a tough thing to find. So one of the things you'll see, the I&I study, which it's in the report, the I&I study has been completed. And now we have a group of recommendations, and I'll get it to the board. And one of them is the smoke test. The beauty of smoke testing is you find I&I, inflow and infiltration, mostly inflow because it comes out of the leaders, it goes into people's homes, places where it's not supposed to go. If you have a sump pump, it's going to come out in your basement. If you have a drain roof leader, it comes out of your roof. And also, if that home has none of those, it won't smoke at all because it should smoke out of the vent. Then you can say, okay, I have a problem, I'm not smoking out of the vent, so therefore you can pursue it a little bit more. So one of the ways we can find out is doing smoke tests throughout the community, which we have to do anyways for our inflow study. So we'll do section by section and go through the town, and we'll blow smoke in the sewer system, and it has to come out through the vent. That's what it's designed to do. If it doesn't come out the vent, then we'll figure out where the problem is. So that's the only way, but yes, to your point, there's probably many more. I found one in Onset that's never been connected. So, and right in the heart of Onset, so.
Been connected but not paying. Been connected
Been
but
connected and not paying. We did an audit, we found a condo association with 15, 16 units had been using sewer for, my goodness, since the 90s, and they weren't paying a penny, and so we bought them. I've got a ton of them. It's been happening, and so we're going to continue to audit, and yeah, they're out there. Buildings downtown Wareham
So
that
when
have
you
suites
audit,
not paying for it.
Do you compare your records to the assessor's records? Is that
Yes.
how you audit?
Yes.
So if there's something on them that you don't have, you say, oh, red flag, let's go look?
Something's wrong. And same thing with one families, two families. We audit through that. That's why we put out the letters throughout the years, and we're getting them, and people are fighting. That's why it's the latest controversy is it an in-law apartment? Is it not an apartment? So we fight those through the building department saying, is it a dwelling? And people, oh, I don't live there. Well, my children live there, and there's a million and one excuses. But the bottom line is there's two families, two EDUs, and some people aren't paying their fair share. So we're trying to find those also. So we're doing a good job of maxing. We're also looking at water usage, in sewer areas. And we're trying to say, okay, because some people, the old days, you could, especially with the seasonal, you'd say, okay, I'm shutting my water off. They shut it off. They come back and put it on. We're not charged sewer, so it goes on. So now we put it on automatically. You need to come to us and say, I need an abatement because we're not going to play that game. So yeah, there's been a lot of things happening. Some we're catching, some we're not. We're getting better at it, but we have a long ways to go. I'm sure there's a lot out there. So I just want to bring, because I'm really excited that someone, again, it reassures my faith in honesty and integrity, and this gentleman did that. So I'm really happy, and I wanted to bring that, so that was important. My report. I want to say, we had talked last meeting about a contract for a comprehensive wastewater management plan. We have one with Bader. We got it last year with Bader. Signed off by the Board of Sewer Commissioners, Derek. We have one, and we're utilizing it. We're halfway done. And we did a lot of it for the studying of the outfall movement because we had to figure out what we needed for sewer capacity in the future. And so now we're going to highlight the high-impact areas, the low-impact areas, and areas that need sewer more. So because we were talking about doing it, so I wanted to bring to Mr. Chairman's attention and to the board that we have one, and we're working on it. So we'll take care of that. We put out, we have a contract with 7 engineers throughout the town to do different type of work for us. It was a request for qualifications. We put 7 under contract. So this project to do the big $10 million project, we sent it out to 3 of the largest contract people that we have in contract, and the quotes are in. Beta was at $165,000, Wright Pierce was $166,000, and Weston Sampson's $193,000. So Bader's been doing our work, so I would suggest that we go with Bader at $1,000 less, but of course, at Weston Sampson was $20,000 greater, so
But Bader also knows us.
absolutely,
That's important, too. It isn't just
very
the
important.
$1,000, it's what they understand.
yes. So I would suggest we go with Bader and move forward to get that project developed, and so I wanted to bring that to the board's attention. Gosh, that's all I have? Yeah, I got other things, that the EDU I can talk about, the sump pump out. I'm about to do it right now. The EDUs, I met with Mike yesterday.
I
Mike,
thought he was going to be
he
here.
was, Mike, so here's the issue, to be frank. The model's done. I've got his email, and I met with him yesterday. The model's done. And the model's going to be, the model will be Residence 1, Residence 2, Residence 3, Chemical 1, I'm sorry, Commercial 1, Commercial 2, Commercial 3. So it's going to break it down by use. And we took the old water usage, so that's what he's breaking it down. His hang-up now is numbers. One is going to be the capital. How much money we're going to spend annually in capital. We used to have within the budget for the past, I don't know, since we did, it's been many years, since the audit, I forget the year of the audit, $1 million that we've been using for capital improvements throughout the year. We took $500,000 out, and we're going to pay for the $10 million project. The question becomes, our CIP calls for $5 million a year in improvements. That's relining pipes, fixing pipes, pump stations. And so the reality is we don't have $5 million a year, and if we were to add that to our budget, the cost of the EDU or the cost of sewer would go out of sight. So the question becomes, he said, what should that number be? I don't know, Mike. I want $5 million a year because that's what I have in liabilities, but that's not reality. So now we have to really wrestle with that. Before we bring it public with numbers, we want to wrestle with that. So he's going to make various proposals at different increments of money so we can see how it impacts the budget. But it has to be there because we have to fund all these projects going forward. And some of it's going to be borrowed, and we have, our accountant did a great layout of borrowing, retained earnings in the budget, so we're trying to figure out a comfortable number in the budget. So that's his issue right now. So we're going to regroup again next week. He's going back, he's going to take the model that they've already developed, it's done, and plug different numbers in for capital improvement and that type of thing, and then it's okay, here's the different, and we'll bring that forward. But again, I want to caution the board, my fear is public numbers, because when people hear a number, it sinks in their heads, and that's the number, and I want to caution the board, and I want to be cautious that we just don't throw arbitrary numbers out there.
The EDU rate that we currently charge is enough to cover the expenses of the facility.
Correct.
Is there any left over? If so, it goes toward capital? Is that how you?
It does. So we have about actually what happened was.
So we have X amount for coverage and a little extra set aside for the capital, which you're saying should be at least $5 million.
A year.
A large amount each year to take care of the aging infrastructure that we have.
Yes. And so the reasonableness, so how, you got to be reasonable. I can't have, you can't have the big
Guy,
cake.
excuse me, one
Yeah.
thing. How much of what we need to do, aside from the fact of the things that we know are in danger and have to be corrected, how much is being mandated by the state?
Well, the I&I is huge, so every bit of asbestos pipe in the town needs to be addressed. That's 5 miles of pipe. Our clay pipe is leaking like sieves. I can show you the report. So Onset, North Boulevard substation, Heinz Field substation, substation to South Water, all those pipes have to be redone.
Okay, but my question there,
So
back again, my question is, how much is mandated by the state versus how much are we doing because we know we need to do it just in general in order to maintain the system?
Jim, to answer your question bluntly, all of it, because the EPA in our permit requires us to maintain those pipes. It's not an option, it's a requirement in our NEPDES permit. We're supposed to inspect our pipes annually, and we're supposed to repair them annually. We've never done that. We've never done that. We're just starting that program. So to answer your question, the short answer is, it's all mandated.
That's what I was looking for. That's all I want to know.
Yeah, there's no...
On that same vein, we've got the camera truck, which seems to be a real boon to us in being able to determine some of these things and finding out some of these problems and...
Or a curse, but yes.
Yeah, well, duh. Whichever you want it to be at a given point in time.
Yes.
in looking at the operation on High Street when we were doing that and the cameraing and all that was going on, and I've seen it, some of the cameraing done before at other locations when you were just surveying the pipes. Would it be more efficient for your operation there and for the guy operating that truck to have a laptop computer to enter in all of his other
Yes,
stuff?
it is. They would, matter of fact, we're doing a training at the fire station and also through the company, and we're going to buy a laptop specific, because the real crux of it is that he can feed it into a program that puts it into a NASCO-approved format that we can send that everywhere. So yes, absolutely, makes it a little easier.
Something, then you'd be able to keep all of that, on a thumb drive for whatever you've cameraed and the paperwork back up with it all in one spot rather than
Yeah, because in my,
everything and paperwork here.
so what-
Eliminate that paperwork.
so the paperwork is good, but in the office, I have a thumb drive for every inch that we cameraed. Everything's on thumb drive.
I understand.
So
What I'm saying
now-
is that, but now you've got paperwork in addition to that.
You still have to do the paperwork because the paperwork has to be submitted. So we'll with the computer, we'll put it on the computer and we'll spit out paperwork. Because the paperwork's in the field. It's actual paperwork,
but
especially when we do manholes.
That's what I'm getting at there, is that if he has a laptop on the camera truck
Mm-hmm.
and he's got a template, he can fill in the blanks.
Absolutely, it's a little easier. I get it.
Bring it in.
And then we can print it out anytime we want to print it out.
Yeah, and
Yes.
it's available, it's all in one spot for that one particular unit or.
And so we will, and the same time as we'll have to do a course on computers, because a lot of people aren't computer savvy. But yes, we definitely are going to get a computer. It's part of our next move. We have a training July 18th, 19th, and 20th at the Wareham Fire Station in West Wareham. NASCO's coming in. They're going to certify us. I need to be recertified. Tim needs to be recertified. And then we're going to have 2 other members recertified. So we'll have certified. So we'll have 4 certified camera operators in the town of Wareham. And then whoever else NASCO will be at the class will be at the class. It's advertised, again, nationally. And mostly the region people will drive to the class. But yes, so we're doing that. Jim, we're going to absolutely do that. And it's a progressive thing. It's really, yeah, it really is. And we're using the camera truck more. And I had brought to the board last year about staffing. So to that point, to really do this job for the collection way it should be done, we need 3 or 4 more folks. There needs to be a dedicated, and so now we've got Tim in the camera truck, so I got to move him over to his, so he's all over the place, and he cannot dedicate his time to the camera truck. I can't afford it. I don't have the staffing to say, you just stay in that truck all day. I need to, because we're obligated to do it constantly. So I'm trying to jockey it around and trying to make it so I can free him up more times than not, but I can't get the value out of it that I'd like to. But it's getting done. We're taking a little long, but we're getting it done. And he's good at what he does. He's good at what he does. And we did that lining the other night, and I have the before and afters. I didn't get them downloaded, didn't separate them. So I got to put them in the picture form, and I'll get them to the board. I'll download it, and I'll get it to you electronically, and then I'll also show it at one of the meetings. But we have the before and after videos of that complete lining, and it's impressive. And it's impressive. We were there till 2 in the morning because it took longer to cook than normal because it was extra thick because of the deterioration of that pipe. So they made it extra thick, so it took extra hours. We didn't go back online till 2 in the morning. We started 7 in the morning, and 2 the following morning we went back online.
Because the original projection or guesstimate was 7 o'clock that night would be done.
That's right.
With everything.
That's right. And we also had some issues with the bypass because we had pump trucks and they couldn't keep up. Kennedy's pump station takes quite a bit, everything from that side of town, so we had to go get a hydraulically operated sump pump, if you will, which is really a submersible, and pump it up into the tankers. So the tanker would take about 45 minutes to fill, so it came in fast and we could fill it. With the submersible pump, we could fill that tanker in 20 minutes, 17 to 20 minutes, so it got the job done. So that was a little delay, we had to set that up.
We were lucky it hadn't been raining, or the Swiss Beach sump pumps would have been adding to your flow.
Yeah, it would have been fun. Would have had to have 3 tankers and...
Now, I was surprised to find the road closed. I had no warning, no notice, and I'm sure the rest of the people in town saying, well, what happened and why is it? When we normally close a road to do this type of service, don't we notify?
We notify the police, the fire, and they put it publicly. They do reverse 911. I don't know if that was done or not, but yes, we notify everybody. The dilemma with this one, to be frank, is that there was 3 cancellations. And so when we had to go, we went. And we notified the fire, we notified the police, we notified the ambulance services, we notified all those individuals. So to your
I
point,
would strongly recommend you include the Wareham Week, because that newspaper puts out electronically notices to everybody who gets that document through email.
Because we originally
I
had,
have
you're right.
received notices saying an update from Wareham Week, not to promote them, but
No,
saying that
it's-
such and such is happening and this street will be closed for activity for an estimated X amount of hours. Because if you told, I never got a 911 reverse call, I never heard from any place else other than seeing the streets blocked off with barriers that had been moved around by people who didn't like the barriers.
Well, that was they were moved
People
constantly.
were continuing to go up
Yeah.
the barrier was removed and therefore the opening, and people continued to go up the street when the barriers weren't replaced when they had been moved.
Spike strips.
Oh, it was crazy. And even, truth be told, even the police officers there, people even ignore police. So it was kind of crazy.
I mean, I only saw a policeman on the corner of High and Marion Road. Everything else was barriers.
Other side, there was a police officer at
Well, I didn't-
Center Street and High Street, and we blocked off so they can go through the Catholic Church and wrap around that way, so, and there's no throughway through through Kennedy Street, so there was
Yep.
cops at both ends, and we're still getting people coming through.
Yep.
And what happens is you tell police, oh, I live right there. And, okay, and that was not the
They
truth.
did not live right there.
No, and so they couldn't say, no, you can't go there. So, yes, we'll put it out a little better than we did last time. And we did originally, but I gotta say, we postponed it 3 times, and when it was time to go, we went. So I wasn't taking a chance of not going. We had it in our hands, so I will definitely make that note and get Matt involved sooner than later. So he does a good job. Matt does a good job.
I noticed there was one more topic on here called sump pumps. I took a look at,
I'm get to that.
oh, okay.
I'm getting to that. I think I sent the board something on sump pump. We also have a company that does sump pumps for individuals, and they're going to give a presentation for us, and they're going to send us the information. I thought I'd have it by now. And here's what their recommendations. They actually install them, and so they recommend never to put them in the sewer. And they do French drains, side drains in the yards, small lots, large yards, so they take it out of your basement, and they put the drainage system on the side of your home, depending on the elevation, they do all that. And so there's an alternative, a viable alternative, so I want to get that to the board so you can see that there are alternatives. Just
We need to have that available for people.
I'm sorry, I just want to make this note about the paper
Okay.
before I forget.
mean, it's,
So, and it's an education process. This Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, I'll be at Hamilton Beach Association talking about sump pumps. We'll talk about sump pumps, we'll talk about grease, we'll talk about baby wipes. And so I begin this summer to go into all these associations throughout the community discussing the issues
and other rags.
and other rags. So we're trying to get the word out there, and education is key.
Where at Hamilton Beach are you?
On Jello Street.
Angelo?
So you take a left on Angelo, on the right, halfway down the right, there's an open lot there, and that's where it'll be set up.
Okay.
So I'll be on the agenda there, and so I'm on the agenda at 10, and I'll present, I've got a big old cutout of all of it, so I'll present that and talk to those folks about our issue with sump pumps and why we got to get rid of them. And so I think the other thing about sump pumps is, again, getting real live, face-to-face, and talk about it and get people to understand that there is, and we'll talk about the storms of March 3rd, how it just overwhelmed the plant because the sump pumps, the I&I study shows it, because you see after the rain event, you see the sump pumps stay, you see the flow continue. So as it stops raining, the water goes in the ground, it floods out basements, and the sump pumps just keep going. And so that steady increase of that excessive flow is steady. And you can see it, the graphs show it, there's no denying it. And so I want to educate the folks on, we have a major issue. I understand people's problems, I really, truly do, but there are alternatives. There are alternatives.
I took a look at the draft from the town of Sutton that was included in the May 24th document, and I think it's a nice start. And that one of the alternatives, options is to have an inspection at the time the house is sold.
I like that.
Okay, but I would also make a strong recommendation, not only that, but that we have proof that the sump pump has an alternative outflow before the house can be sold. Just like you can't sell a house until you have an updated sewer septic system, like a Title V. To me, we should be adding to this particular bylaw, or whatever it becomes, that the alternative, just to have it disconnected at the time of inspection is one thing, it can be easily reconnected.
Reconnected, yes.
But I'd like to see it added on that we provide that they must prove an alternative discharge exists.
I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea.
Introduce a mandatory certification that compliance during time of sale or transfer, and that we expand that to say we have a alternative discharge has been installed.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I think we, that's nice to do as long as we've got the alternative to provide them.
Which is what we're going to hear from this other company.
Yes, because they actually do them, so they're going to give a very good alternative.
But we can't
Taiwan
continue to
together.
process fresh water.
No, we can't.
How about
It's-
salt
it's-
water? How about salt water?
Well, that's another issue. We don't control that. We control the sump pumps. We can control the sump pumps.
We got a call today from individuals saying that Bourne has this new downtown, this new splash pad.
They don't have the water to run it.
The one in Buzzards Bay?
The water,
Yeah, they don't have the water to
49,000
do it.
gallon, they don't have enough, 49,000 gallons a day. And the other side of that is they're taking it to the drain. Where's it going? I'm told to the sewer,
Yes. Well,
okay? I'm trying to.
I thought it was storm water.
Well,
But
that's what
anyway,
I-
it's not recycling this water in this.
Recycle it all.
And I understand the town wants to install it at a local playground. And I'm saying to myself, we really don't have the water to that type of,
Yeah, it's a million gallons and it'll drain that tank. They
Yeah.
can do it, but that means that you can't flush your toilet, you can't drink water, take showers. But the kids will be nice and,
That was nice planning on putting that thing in to begin with.
Yeah, I heard
Don't
they're
bother to ask the
closing it.
questions.
I'm
They
told
can't
that
afford the water.
they can't maintain it, so I'm not so sure what's happening. But I need to, the call to me was that they're discharging it to the sewer. I have no verification. I got the call today, and so I'm moving, for now, I'm going to find out.
you
So
would have seen an increase in the flow from Bourne if they were doing that.
I don't know. It depends if the meter's proper. We've never seen a calibration certification of the meter since we've been with them, so I don't even know if that's, how do I know the meter works? We've got no calibration of that meter. It may not work. We may never see it. So, yeah, it's something I need to find out, because again, if they're in fact complaining about gallons, that they don't have enough capacity, and they're dumping 50,000 gallons of drinking water down the drain, it doesn't make any sense to me, so I'd like to at least make sure.
Flowing out stormwater into the canal.
And that, again, I suppose that'd be the way to go, but that's pristine drinking water.
I mean, to me, recycle it. But
They could pump it over to Maritime.
I don't know, maybe they do, I don't know. Maritime, because Maritime's their own treatment plant, so maybe they do, maybe they have an
something to
agreement.
consider, because if the town is seriously considering putting it at a local playground, we have got to
If you should.
do our homework.
And it's
Just-
costly. I was told by I won't say who, but, because he works for the town of Bourne, but he said that the cost to do recycling was $300,000, and the town said, no way, we'll just dump it.
Yep, that's exactly what I heard, that they're scratching it. Everybody couldn't believe it.
Staggering, staggering. So, sump pump, I think there was, let me go to this, II update, so we are submitting our report, so it's final. I have a draft I'll send to you, the final I'll send to you, so you'll have them both. It's finalized. We've identified the areas. Hamilton Beach is one of the biggest. Smith's Pump Station is pumping water like crazy. Smith's Pump Station has gravity mains, asbestos pipes coming through the marsh. We haven't been able to get in to inspect them. We have to get in there and inspect them. So it's really a high. North Boulevard is crazy. The water flow there is crazy. It's like rivers coming into that pump station. So those two areas are our highest, which is the 10th Street, 11th Street, 12th Street, 13th Street. Those streets there, they're all clay. East Central,
You said Smith, Onset Pier,
yes.
North Boulevard,
North
and
Boulevard.
South Water is
South
what you
Water.
said several...
Meetings
You
ago.
said that in the April
That's
meeting.
right. So Smith is the highest, I believe it was the highest, and I
Yep.
believe North Water, and then the other two. So we have to, my point is we have to address them. Water's pouring in. So that's a lot of relining, a lot of investigation. We just can't ignore it because it's costly to treat it. And I worry about if we're getting water in, and I'm going to say this once, then water has to be going out. And we have bays to protect.
That's right. And it's not clean water going out.
Not clean water going out.
Then, as I gathering it, then that would be number 2 on our list of things to get done. ASAP, as soon as we get this Swiss Beach one done.
Yeah, we can go to Smith's, and then we can go to North Boulevard, and you're talking, these are many miles of pipes, and how much do we want to do at a time? And so we're trying to say, okay, this is the biggest leaker, and so it's really a tough, because if we stop this leaker, we just push that leak someplace else. So I don't know what the answer is, because I'd like to say just do it all, and then it's all gone, but it's almost cost prohibitive.
When are you going to work with Mr. Pichette to walk the Swiss Beach? Because I keep asking him when that group meeting is, because Joe Liggett and I from Conservation Commission would like to do the walk with you, but
So let's
Dave
walk.
hasn't heard anything.
Well, I said to Dave, pick a date. You pick a date, Dave pick a date, call me and I'll meet you. It's my schedule. I said, Dave, I'll go anytime you want to go. You tell me. So ask Dave, ask Mr. Liggett, you tell him and we'll go. Which brings me to our survey. So we need to walk it. So we have an issue. It's an easement issue. We did the survey, we find there's no easement on the Bronx property, so we have a pipe that runs behind that property, no easement. No recorded easement, the pipe is there. The property with the swimming pool, no recorded easement, but the pipe is there. We found Ripley's Trailer Park, that easement is recorded. Some of behind the long meadow, I guess, along that marsh, not recorded. It references a plan that's supposed to be at the Registry of Deeds, not there. So what we're surmising after I talked to the council is that when the town was completed, it was supposed to be taken down and registered and recorded within 20 days.
Yeah.
We believe that never happened. So there's no recorded deeds, or easements, and they should be on deeds. And so if they're not on deeds and we don't have the Registry of Deeds, then there's an issue, because for me to lay a pipe on somebody's property, because my pipe is there, we know it's there, but there's no easement recorded. So we've got some legwork to do. Rebecca spent the day at the clerk's office looking for all records through town meeting. Let's see what the town meeting said. We're going to go back to the late 60s, 70s, and find out what the town meeting said, because the project was mid-70s, so we're going to go before that, because I'm sure the town's talked about it for years. We're going to try to follow that, and what the takings were, we're going to go through that, turn that over to the attorney, and then when we go from there, we'll figure it
So
out.
if there is no easement, we have no authority to go on this private property, but they must have at some time to have put the original pipe in.
That's what we're
Is there anything, I'm sure you're checking with legal to see if something can be done, because it is such a requirement. There is a public safety issue.
That's right. If the
Health
pipe
issue.
breaks, I can't go on somebody's property to fix it. I can't. And so we're going to try to go through
There has
town
to be
meeting.
some legal alternatives. If the pipe breaks, you can't ignore
That's
it.
why
I
we
can't.
have legal
Will you
counsel.
tell me? I'll have to go to the homeowner and get permission. The homeowner says, don't come on my property. Do I just go anyways? I'm not sure how it works. I don't have an answer for
You're
you.
asking council that question.
Absolutely.
Because of the issue of the health.
I mean, this, from the sounds
Absolutely.
of things, this is in legal counsel's hands right
Yes.
now, not ours.
So we're doing the research and trying to locate stuff. It's between the legal counsel and the surveyors.
Yeah.
That's who's doing the thing. And I will not put a pipe in the ground or start the process until that is rectified and solved, because I don't need the legal aggravation of someone saying, get off our property. And they have the legal right to do that. So we're vetting this. We're vetting this.
Part of this process, we'll be able to line pipes without necessarily going onto someone's property other than the bypass.
It's the bypass. I've got a bypass.
Bypass, we're gonna have to go on the property
Have to.
for.
I can bypass on Route
Lining
6.
you don't have to go on the technically, you don't have to go on the property.
No, you gotta go under, but I go manhole to manhole.
I understand that.
So that manhole is not on my
That's where
property.
it is, right.
That's right, and it's on
So the-
easements. So if I can't get to the manhole, I can't line.
So there's some
I
manholes
think that
on
would be a
private
question,
property?
that would be a
Yes.
question then
Yes.
for legal on whether or not we can just go to the homeowner and say, and get permission.
That's going to be a little question. And we can get permission, but I would think that the certification
I mean, we want that.
documentation
I
is
understand we
good. So
want
yeah,
that.
we could probably,
But I don't, but I'm looking at the fact that we need to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can jerk around.
well, this is government, so
for-
yes.
Exactly, and it'll never get done right.
We'll just keep
when
pushing.
you're doing it that way.
I-
So it'll take forever to get it done.
So let's say,
get
Mr.
it
Bowen's
done.
aware,
We need to
Mr.
go
Bowen
talk
is
to
aware and he's
people.
working on it, but I think he wants to make sure all the i's are dotted and all the t's are t'd. We just want to rush into this. And we could go get permission from owners, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But if we're going to do that, we might as well just record it. There may be a legal mechanism that the lawyer can use. It's okay, here's the recording, the town meeting from 1972. This is what it says, I'm going to act upon it, and now I'll record it. So I'm going to leave it up to him, but that would be the ultimate.
I'm not saying we don't do that. I'm just saying that to move the project along, if that hasn't been identified and rectified, that we go on the door and say, look, this is the situation, can we have permission to go across your property and do X, Y, Z?
And that permission could very well not have to be recorded at the clerk of deeds, just something for this particular
Project.
access for this particular project, as opposed to a permanent.
You know, the
But it
one,
would give us permission to the full point if something were to happen, that we're indemnified, I guess they call it. So there's a lot of legalities to that, just simple
Yes.
paper. This is like, yes, you can go and sign off. There's a lot of clauses and this and this and that. So what I'm saying to you, that's going to take a while, but yes, we should pursue that, and I'm sure he is.
Can we
I'm sure
start
he
the
is.
project and come up to, how much can
can
we
come up to
do? How
Richard-
much can we come before we come to a private property we don't
I can
have
go
access?
from Mather to Ripley's, because Ripley's, it's real. They've got a great easement, it's written out. We got trailers on that easement, so I'm glad we have that. And so, and then you stop there and you go all the way to the Bronx property. That's all under question, I can't touch that. And then I gotta go in the marsh. There's, once it leaves the back end of the Bronx property, goes to the marsh, behind the track, and then up to Viking Drive, I can do all that. And then I can pick up Merchants Way, Sawyer
So
Street.
we can
We
do
can
a
do some work,
portion
absolutely.
right now.
we can basically do 2/3 of it,
We can do both ends,
yeah,
and
Yeah.
come back to the middle.
okay, so.
And it's the sad part is that
this is
that's
just
probably
a-
the
this is
highest.
just a- This is just a little bump in the road. that we
No,
go
it's not going to stop us.
So
We're gonna move
which
forward.
is the worst section of that pipe?
The
What we
part
just
that's
did.
we need easements for. The parts we need easements for.
That's the worst section. That's our more
Because
likely
it's
to,
leaking, that's where the leaks are. The bigger leaks are, that's where the roots are all in, that's, yeah, that's the section that's the highest
It wouldn't be
impact.
good to connect it easily.
So we'll get there.
why didn't the town do it? Who knows? Who
It's an
knows?
oversight, somebody just didn't get to the registry deeds, whatever, I mean,
Typical, who's on first?
but so that tied into what we talked about, but yeah, that's where we are with it, as soon as I get that rectified. But we are getting the engineer starting, we're gonna do the we're gonna, write the RFP, get it out, get the bids in, they'll vet all the bidders, we'll pick a contractor, and then we can start, however, front end, back end, whatever you have to do, so we can get something going until we rectify the center. At least we'll have actual costs and that type of thing.
So, but we are working on the RFP.
Yes. Yes. What else? I think that's all I really have. We start our sampling, 28th, for the expansion or the outfall relocation. And I'll show it to you. These are the places we're going to go. If that makes any sense. Cape Cod Canal, Mass Maritime, open waters, onset. So these are the sampling points. We have to sample for nitrogen in the grass, in the eelgrass, in the water. We have to do a baseline where everything is now. So we add our product, even though the Woods Hole Institute said there's no impact, we have to develop a
Prove it.
baseline. And then once we start it, then we can say, okay, here's the baseline, and let's make
You
sure
get
we're
something to
not
compare, right?
Yes.
Notice the assumption you can find eelgrass to test on.
There is a couple of eelgrass patches.
There is,
Is,
by Onset Island is one.
what's the status with the railroad?
The railroad has not changed. The railroad's saying that to put a pipe along the railroad, we have to build a wall. So that's not changing. So we can do it, but we have to literally, so the slope of the tracks, where it starts to come down halfway in the slope, we have to cut in and pile drive walls down, make a wall, pile drive it down. And then once you get it all pile driven down, that protects the integrity of the track, then you can dig alongside of it.
That'll be something similar to what they do on the highways for noise abatement,
Could be, yes.
that idea.
Yes, and it's very expensive. So what we're doing is, it's called alternative costs. We're looking at Route 6 and 28. We're looking at directional drilling from the plant directly to Mass Maritime underground. We're looking at the rail, and so we'll have these costs to compare and see what the cost comparisons are. That we have to do that at this point of the game.
And where are we standing on the alternate disposal area?
Of the canal,
Recharging.
well, we're looking at that too. So we've talked to the water district, and we talked about discharging our effluent to their aquifers. And so that's an alternative. We talked to the state about the testing we need to do for that. and so we're starting some of the TOC testing and that type of thing. So that's an alternative. It'll take us out of an ocean discharge to a groundwater discharge, maybe a combination of two, maybe some to the ocean and some to the water table. We're looking at that. So we're looking at all the possible alternatives. We have to. We have no choice at this time. And again, the outfall to the canal, it just, we may not, or I may have underestimated the ease of it, but the rail, and one of the factors, the rail is, it's becoming a heavy-use track, and the future of that track is incredible. And they want spurs and all these things, and so they're saying, guys, when I got a train going on that track 60 miles an hour, I cannot afford. And the other thing, when we do this, we have to do, the survey has to put 2 points on the rails and center it, and he's got to watch it every day to see if there's any shifting. And just that part of the project is very expensive. So there's so much to do to get the line along the rail that we almost said it's cost prohibitive, but we have to research it and get the hard numbers along with Route 6 and 28, along with directional drilling. What about Onset Ave? And then directional drill at some point in Onset Ave and go under into the, so we're looking at all those alternatives.
You got Onset Ave, you have that easement that still exists for the train, the trailer? No,
No, the trolleys.
trolleys. All along Onset Ave that's not owned by the people that live there.
No, it's funny because we put sewer. I found out when I think it was Station Road or something that goes behind Onset Ave and there's little islands out there. But anyways, I was told you need to get permission for that easement. What easement? Oh, that's the trolley easement.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. So yeah, I found out the hard way. So literally, we dug across it. We got no permission to go across the easement. But there's a trolley easement from years and years and years ago. So, and there's a lot of these little things that we don't know about. So anyways, I think that's all I have. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And
Question. I have
so I
several.
thank you for your time.
A while ago, one of our companies asked for an abatement on their EDUs, and that was what, Meineke?
Yes, we're still waiting on that because the board said we'll wait till we get some alternative of billing. And again, I'll be very frank, the policy is the policy. He doesn't have to like the policy, but nobody likes the policy.
But
Policy is the policy.
I understand. One of the reasons is you said it isn't just the volume of water, it's the type of water
Strength of
that's
the
being
water.
discharged.
That's right.
If we find that the mechanics are all using gloves and there's no washing of oily hands, and is that something that can be considered? I know
So-
it's the policy.
So I said, so the board will have to revise the policy for every gas station, every facility in the town of Wareham. Can't just say one. So I have no problem with that. The board chooses to revise the entire policy, revise it.
Totally understand. It isn't just this one company, it's all the companies that are being charged per each
Per bay.
bay.
EDU per bay,
That's the reason we're trying to come up with something from Ty and Bond
alternative.
that we can look at for EDU policies and put it into place because of guys like him. And he's not the only one.
He's not the only one. We have many. We have Sullivan that has 8 EDUs. We've got Kent's Garage that has 2 EDUs, and he just does radiator repairs, and he doesn't have any. So there's a lot of them that, Midas, and there's a lot of them.
Yes, there
They
are.
all have issues, and I
just didn't want
understand
it
that.
to be left on the,
No, we had said that, and we're actively pursuing to look at the EDU structure, because in my heart, and I don't know how you folks feel, if we'll ever get to water, because that's a ways away. We keep saying it's close, but it's not any closer than discussion. So if we go water, we need a long-term contract, all in the odds. In the interim, we can say, okay, leave it the way it is. We do nothing. That's an option. Or we say, how about we revise the EDU structure, and that's what we're trying to do, revise the EDU schedule on the short term. And I think it's a valid course of action, and I think the board's decision to do that makes sense. And when that's done, then everybody will get relief. Some people won't be happy, but some people will not. And tied to that, we also had the conversation a couple of years ago, is that these gas stations are mandated to have oil separators. They don't. They took them out years ago because of the cost of maintaining them. So when we say, yes, we'll do the EDU structure, but we must put back in because they're going to the ground, to the asphalt. If gas tank spills, where does it go? Oh, we'll mop it up. It goes out into the parking lot, the rain takes it to a drain, and it goes into the environment. Unacceptable. The law says you will have. There's no you may. The law says you will have an oil gas separator. So all these gas stations need to install drainage inside their buildings and oil gas separators before they tie to the sewer. That's policy. That's state law. We've ignored that also.
Okay, just another topic. I was reading the minutes of May 24th. It was a meeting I missed. And it talked about roofing replacement of several buildings at the plant. The project will be funded out of the capital budget.
Yes, $160,000 in the cap budget of last year is for the plant improvements. It's already in there.
I went looking at capital planning, and I didn't see this 2 roof projects listed
Well, it's in the,
as approved at town meeting.
the budget, in our budget, town meeting approved $160,000 for plant improvements.
Okay,
Our budget's approved.
so it's under a plant improvement
That's right.
umbrella.
That's right.
Okay.
It's there, and so that's what we're doing. We're taking that $160,000 and repairing those roofs. It's in the budget.
I never caught it under plant improvements. Now I will go look specifically for that. But I did notice that you have $950,000 for capital expenditures this year.
No, it's in there, but it's not
That's what it
authorized.
says for expenses.
It's in there, but it's not authorized. Remember, I think at that meeting, the board said they're going to take $500,000 put out, but
No,
again,
this-
I'm going to say this, that's not till next year, so it probably is. I'm going to verify that with
No, it came out
town
of-
administrator.
It came out of a revenue and expense summary for FY 2000,
No,
and
it's on our budget. It's in our budget.
I was just wondering what the projects were for $950,000.
Well, again, you were at the meeting, and you guys said you're only going to authorize...
We know that for
That's it. So
2019.
I took everything out. We're talking about 19. This is the
No,
new
I'm
budget.
talking about 18.
Oh, I'm not so sure. 18,
Yeah,
we're spending it.
yes, and I was wondering what it was being spent for, but that's,
Pipe alignment, pipe infrastructure, we're spending a port on the roofs, the 160 on the roof. We're spending, and I apologize, I don't have my
but the
2018...
roof hasn't been done yet, has it?
No.
Okay, so that isn't part of the 950. Okay.
905.
Yeah, that's,
It was 905 on the previous report. The most report we just got out said 950.
That might be the 2019 budget. The 2019 budget's been published, so make sure it's not the 2019.
Okay.
All right, for the 905, it's 50 for equipment. We bought the truck, 160 for plant and buildings, CIP, that's 160,000, 550 for infrastructure, and 145 for generators. That's the 905.
Yep,
For this, for
okay.
2018 budget.
Okay.
And this is, I know I said, but this is the exhibit I sent to the, and I have it here, which I sent over to the capital planning. And it speaks specific to those items I talked about. They're in the, I took them out of the CIP, sent this, said these are the things we're doing this year. And then I wrote it up on the form that you guys want. So I have a copy of that.
Donna, do you have anything?
The only thing I have is a motion to adjourn if we're done.
Okay, the next meeting is July 19,
I second the motion.
6:30, okay. We have a motion and a second to adjourn at, what is it? Yeah, 7:35.
Thank you.
Thank you, as always.
Pretty much everyone.